Hey, and for the record, the person who commented, is he screaming out of closet? You are correct. Alright? But that's not why we here for, alright? Let's not talk about my life circumstances. Nothing's better when a person gets fired from one of these movie industry studios because they spill the beans about everything. Now, we gotta take everything with a side of jade due to the fact that, you know, he got fired, but my boy, Beau DeMayo, most notably known for producing, writing, being the brainchild, putting everything together for the most part. X-Men 97, season 1, one of the greatest products that hit the web. But he got a bone to pick with the MCU. It has been reported that the Fire X-Men 97 showrunner, Beau DeMayo, has alleged that the MCU chief, Kevin Feige, rescinded this show because fans were using it as a reference on how the MCU is failing. See, when you have a random cartoon doing a symbol piece with multiple characters so good, and then you have your blockbusters movie franchise going in the tanker to a degree, there will be a consensus that those people don't know what they're doing, and this guy and his little ragtag group of animators know what they're doing in terms of delivering a concise, impactful, emotional spectacle of a project known as X-Men 97. So let's not even lie and say that's not the best thing since the last 4 years coming from Marvel. I'm not even here to argue with you, okay? I'm not gonna do it unless you subscribe. Then I'll argue a little bit. But it doesn't stop right there. I don't know if this is a little fish and hook type of situation, but my boy Beau DeMayo responded personally to this tweet. He says, yep, I was told this in a phone call after episode 5 premiere. He asked the exec if Kevin was happy because stupidly I wanted to help the studio out. He didn't want to help. He wanted to be able to make a movie. Let's just be honest. That's the goal. Hold on. I don't even know. I had to take a call. Messing up the flow. Anyways, let's get back to it. Their response was a long pause. And then I was told that he'd be happier if fans and audience weren't using it as a reference on what the MCU needs to be doing to fix itself. What makes it worse, I think that Kevin has nothing to do with X-Men 97 and could take no credit for it, even internally. Before the show aired, Marvel employees was reaching out to me asking me how I was able to make a show this good given where the studio was and how it's the best thing that studio has done. With their praise, I noticed more and more that I was becoming a threat and regret to the studio leadership. Can I see this as a fact? I can. Does any evidence support that Kevin Feige is a bitter exec, or he could potentially be threatened due to the success of a random show under his leadership? He might be a little delusional. However, I do think there has to be some execs, some power dynamics between Kevin Feige level, his board, and Beau DeMayo project manager level. It's some nonsense in the middle, some fluff in the middle that's probably pissed off due to the fact that, you know, we were supposed to be using these series from Disney Plus as it's cool. That's for the super fans. However, when it came to X-Men 97, it became like a focal point of okay, let's hire this creative team to do the movies. And if you did not know, your boy Kevin Feige is really attached to the mutants. That's where it all started for him. The original X-Men movies that came out early 2000, he was some random PA or assistant to a director. You see him? This is his start. So you know he has a vision that he personally want, and he don't want no competing vision into what he is designing for the MCU X-Men. And then you have these over-eager individuals like Beau DeMayo that's really good at their job, but however, they are creating their own world within the MCU, and their world cannot be the same of Kevin's world because Kevin ain't really planned it out yet or showcase his plannings. But let me finish the statement from Beau DeMayo. He says, and again, Kevin and Lou couldn't even be bothered to come to the premiere of the show at the El Capitan. They didn't show up to thank the fans. They didn't show up to thank X-Men. TS, the Lou's and Houston are the OG voice cast for how they built that foundation back in the 90s of the MCU. Nope, we were just a little cartoon that wasn't sexy enough or taken serious enough to warrant the great Kevin Feige to attend. Now, if you don't know anything about Beau DeMayo, he literally a comic book nerd. Like, most of his grievances with the MCU was the fact that they didn't honor the source material, whatever the heck that means. But really, low-key, corporate world, he's just difficult to work with. He has a mind of his own, and he's very strong-minded, like strong-willed. He want to beat on his own drum. He want to succeed by any means. And sometimes by any means meaning to tell your higher-ups that they don't know what they're doing. And speak for the team, even though the team is too scared to speak for themselves.
They pivoted to attacking my talent, accusing me of being too much of a fanboy. They openly resented me fighting for the fans, fighting for the comics. They accused me of playing karaoke with those comics. Now, my response to this was to try to calmly outline that fans didn't want to see our version of the X-Men. They, like me, want to see the characters that they have loved for decades faithfully adapted on screen.
Which makes sense. I mean, the greatest hits. That's how I feel like the X-Men 97 was. It was literally the greatest hits of the X-Men comic book era. Not missing the minutia of it, but not wasting time on the BS of it all and making it like a concise story. If the MCU can nail on that, hit the greatest hits of all their characters throughout the comics and add your own little personality to it as a director and writer, they'd be good. But it's too much, politics, social constructs, social norms. Oh, I want to be liberated. Like, we ain't here for that, bro. We here for the action, the drama, the soap opera of it all. Not identity crisis. That's only a piece of the MCU, but now it's becoming the whole thing. So at least we know that the environment had been exposed, and we're gonna see what comes of it. Hopefully, as time proceeds, learn from the mistakes, add on things. But I think there's always three sides to the story: Kevin's story, Beau DeMayo's story, and actually the truth. Only time will tell what that comes of it. But we got other things to discuss. Let's talk about this, right? Why the heck is Ice Cube